Welcome to the NACIC World Podcast. The objective of the NACIC World Podcast is to uplift, inspire, motivate, and to encourage personal growth and introspection. The human spirit is a flame that can be neglected, ignored, and covered up, but it can also be nurtured, nourished, and fanned to create a mighty fire. The NACIC World Podcast, fan the flame of your spirit. Here is your host, RJ.
It is so nice to be back with you guys again. Welcome back. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a major effect on our lives. Many of us are facing challenges that can be stressful, overwhelming, and cause strong emotions in children and adults. As it has spread across the world, the pandemic has induced worries and fears, increasing the risks of mental health problems. It is very seldom that the threat of a disease occupies so much of our thinking. For weeks now, almost every newspaper has stories about the coronavirus pandemic on its front page. Radio and TV programs have back-to-back coverage on the latest death tolls. And depending on who you follow, social media platforms are filled with frightening stats or practical advice. This constant bombardment can result in heightened anxiety with immediate effects on our mental health. It is natural to feel stress, anxiety, grief, and worry during the COVID-19 pandemic. While traditionally considered a negative emotion, fear actually serves an important role in keeping us safe. It can, however, also keep us feeling trapped and prevent us from doing things we'd like to. Fear is the body's alarm system. It's an innate emotional response to a perceived personal threat. These are natural feelings that often help to keep you alive by alarming you to danger. Fear and anxiety are like kidnappers that hold you captive, holding you back from the full, free life you could be living. The stranglehold on your life will typically get worse over time if left unchecked. So today, I want to focus on the topic, facing your fears.
NACIC World Podcast, broadcasting all over the world. You are listening to NACIC World Podcast. If you are serious about making money online from home, then visit smm-enterprisesonline.com. smm-enterprisesonline.com.
A little bit of fear is normal. In fact, fear helps you instinctively protect yourself from harm. Your fear might help you to recognize when you're about to do something dangerous, and it could help you to make a safer choice. But you might find yourself fearful of things that aren't actually dangerous. Like, for example, public speaking. Your fear of public speaking might prevent you from advancing in your career or participating in traditions like giving a toast at a family wedding. Or if you really want to go on holiday to China, for example, your fear of flying could stop you. You might feel like your fear is stopping you from living your dream, living your life actually. If you find that your fear holds you back or creates bigger problems in your life, facing your fear may help you learn to better cope with the fear and ultimately overcome it. Common ways of facing your fears are firstly to evaluate the risk associated with it. You may need to decide whether it's necessary to face your fear if it's not part of your daily life. Sometimes fear comes from simply not knowing very much about the thing you fear. For example, you might be afraid of airplanes because it seems like you've heard a lot about air crashes. However, if you look into the stats, you might learn that the probability of dying in a plane crash is 1 in 7 million. I mean, if you compare that to 1 in 600 dying from smoking, that's not so high. You can also, if you're afraid and you've been on a plane, you're afraid of, the bumps during turbulence, you might just find out, get some more information about that, and you realize it's simply just the movement of air that has an effect on an airplane. And if you buckled in properly, there's no threat to you. Of course, less tangible fears such as being afraid of public speaking don't necessarily have stats to help you learn about the risks you perceive. But you can read about other people's successful public speaking ventures or learn more about successful public speaking strategies to help you feel more confident. Keep in mind, just because something feels scary, it doesn't mean it's actually risky. Educate yourself about the facts and the risks you actually face by doing the things that scare you. Get as many real facts and information as you can about the scary thing. Then ask yourself, are my fears based on fact? Or just what I think might happen? What's the worst that could happen? Is that really likely? Ask yourself these questions.
NACIC World Podcast. Broadcasting all over the world. You are listening to NACIC World Podcast. Are you interested in doing an online tourism business course? Visit tourismbusinessonline.com, tourismbusinessonline.com.
The key to facing your fears is to take one small step at a time. Going too fast or doing something too scary before you are ready can backfire. But it is also important to keep moving forward. A moderate amount of fear is okay. Don't wait for your fear to disappear before taking a step forward. Or you may find yourself waiting for a change that isn't going to come on its own. If you can't actually do the thing that scares you to practice, you might use imagined exposure. For example, while it's difficult to practice flying on an airplane one step at a time, you might be able to induce a little fear by imagining yourself getting on a plane. Think about how it would feel to take your seat and think about how you would handle feeling the plane take off. You might also want to watch some movies or videos about planes. You might park your car near an airport, in an area where you can watch, the flights land and take off. Learning more about planes and being near to them might help ease your fear over time. While avoiding the situations you fear might make you feel better in the short term, avoidance can cause increased fear in the long term. Avoiding the object of fear actually increases fear of the object. That's very important. Avoiding the object of fear actually increases fear of the object. That can be a problem when the fear stops someone from enjoying their life or furthering their career. On the contrary, gradually facing your fears in small doses that don't overwhelm you may help decrease fear, letting your brain become accustomed to the fear. Try some of these steps. Firstly, relax, be calm. If you're in the grip of feeling scared about something, it's really hard to think clearly. Take time out to calm down. Try relaxation exercises. Secondly, talk about it. Try talking about your fear with someone you know and trust. Talking about your fears often shrinks them down to a size that you can deal with. And lastly, take small steps. Think about how you could break this fear down into more manageable chunks. Set yourself short-term and long-term goals and reward yourself every time you reach your goal. Even the smallest of things is an achievement. So give yourselves credit where credit is due.
You are listening to NACIC World Podcast.
Well, my experience has shown me that fear must be acknowledged and it should not be dismissed. The best way to conquer a fear is to face it head on. But it's important to do so in a healthy manner that helps you move past the fear rather than in a way that it traumatizes you. Getting over fear is an active process that requires learning and retraining the brain. Getting to a point of relative comfort with what one perceives to be a dangerous situation cannot happen overnight. Face your fears whenever you can, and then notice the powerful urge to avoid and don't give in to it. In most situations, it is worse for you and your life to avoid what you're afraid of instead of facing it. Taking those small, positive, steady steps to banish your fears will do wonders to calm down your brain and your life. Now, as far as the COVID pandemic is concerned, respect the fears that other people have about COVID-19. Acknowledge it, listen to it. Listen to what they have to say, support them. Let us be patient and compassionate. And we can overcome this fear of the pandemic together. That brings us to the end of this episode. Please keep on fanning the flame of your spirit.
Please like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and podcast platforms. Send your emails to podcast@nacicinchina.com. NACIC World Podcast is broadcasted twice weekly, every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. Beijing time. Until next time, please stay safe and be blessed. Till we meet again.